Today's video dedication is for Whiskey Jack. Brimaz versus Kalia, Sidisi, and Queen Marchesa. Yeah, decent. We have a decent means of ramping there. Bitter Thorn has been released on Magic Online along with Brimaz and a few other cards from the set, so yeah, we should be able to get something going with that. Birds of Paradise on turn 1 for Sidisi. We draw into Wormcoil Engine, so just a tap land for us. Turn 1 Mana Crypt for Queen Marchesa, which takes them into a Talisman of Indulgence. And then following that up with a Dreadhorde Invasion, so a pretty stacked hand to start the game off for Queen Marchesa. And then Boros Garrison bounces back the Scryland for the other Mardu player, so we're going to have to get another tap land in over the next few turns or two. Caves of Koilos for us, so throw that down into an Arcane Signet. Thanks to the ramp we see a turn 2 Queen Marchesa, and obviously there's a zombie here with a plus counter on it from the enchantment. Mardu player will become the Monarch, and surprisingly the 3-3 deciding to sit back. Lord of the Accursed is an Anthem effect for zombies for Sidisi, so we'll assume that this is zombie tribal. And yep, that temple comes down again for Kaalia, so going pretty slow over there. Still managing to cast a spell though. Open the armory, searches up an aura or an equipment, and went for Lightning Greaves with that. So probably cast that next turn and then goes for Kaalia the turn after. Alright, and there is a Skull Clamp. We could obviously get down our commander here, but I want to get Summoning Sickness off the Bitter Thorn, so go for that instead, and we can get out a tap land with the fetch. Queen Marchesa plays out Black Market. And again, holding back these two creatures, so he's very eager to keep the monarchy. Seeing the second commander, Sidisi Brood Tyrant, hit the battlefield. Milling there, a Diagraph Colossus, an excellent zombie, so that will get them a zombie token. A land and Rise of the Dark Realms. And now the 2-3 turns in sideways towards Kaalia. Orzhov Signet will fix the black mana, so I don't feel as bad about going for the Urborg now. Alright, that is a Phyrexian Scriptures, which is tempting to go for now. Could turn the Germ into an artifact, so that it is saved by the Phyrexian Scriptures. Well, we'll swing in first of all, because we definitely want to be ramping with our Bitter Thorn. So we'll go into the wide open player to the right, and we might as well go for a Plains here, because we've got the Urborg in hand. So do we want to go for the Saga, or do we want to go for our commander? Don't really want to re-equip this thing because it costs 3 to re-equip it, so yeah. I think we just try and slow our opponents down here. Let's get down. I'll go for Demolition Field because we're not desperate for the extra black mana at the moment, and I don't want to help my opponents out by fixing their colours if I can help it. So the Scriptures comes down, puts a plus counter on the Germ. That means that we can throw a Skull Clamp on there, ready for when it does eventually get blown up. And it also makes it easier to swing in with as well. And we just have to hope that the Scriptures stays in play, because during the next main phase all non-artifact creatures will be destroyed. The 3-3 now going after Sidisi and trading a couple of 3-3 zombies out, so likely just doing that for some black market connection triggers. It's noteworthy that if Marchesa doesn't get an artifact creature into play and doesn't remove the Germ token, we should be able to steal the monarchy away next turn. Hopefully we'll get to exile some decent things from Sidisi's graveyard as well with the Scriptures on Chapter 3. Alright, and Anointed Procession, they might as well get down if they're going to be getting their board wiped of creatures. Still going to draw another card. And then we're going to be punished for this impending board wipe, so Sidisi going to mill some more and potentially get it exiled like we said eventually. But we eat 5 damage here, including 3 commander. Noteworthy that there is a Field of the Dead in play now as well, they're just a couple of lands away from that. And we see Undead Butler, Arcane Signet and a Timeless Witness. So we'll see if we hold off the Kaalia player from getting their commander down. Okay, so either has some means of protecting the Kaalia or hasn't read what this does. Maybe is able to do something before the board wipe by getting down some kind of creature. Okay, Source to Plowshares, that's interesting. Going on to the Kaalia, I mean, maybe it's a good idea. If they're playing it into a board wipe, they might have something really crazy to do. Maybe could have got down a Steel Hellkite or something like that. Swords came from the Queen Marchesa, of course. But either way, I think the Kaalia was going back into the command zone regardless, so... Yep, that had the Kaalia scoop. I don't think they knew what the scriptures was going to do, so... Yeah, I think they were going to scoop regardless there, so... Yet again, we have another block on our hands. Back to a 3-player game. We draw another land. The scriptures does trigger. Alright, so that is 5 triggers on the black market, a one-sided board wipe for us. There's going to be 5 cards in Marchesa's hand, but we will take the monarchy away here at least. Alright, so I think we're safe to drop down the Urborg here. If we go for Skullclamp equipped, we can still hold up getting down our commander next turn, or this turn, so yeah, play out the Skullclamp, put it on the Germ token. We'll deal an extra point of damage here, and like I said, if it does get targeted and removed, then we'll get to draw some cards, obviously. So we'll go to the left at Queen Marchesa and try and get this monarchy away. And that will encourage them to play out their Queen Marchesa again and steal the monarchy away once more. Again, we will take a Plains to the Bitterthorn because we've got the Urborg in play. So that will tap for black and white. Alright, so managing to take the monarchy away from our opponent, let's play out our Brimaz. And we've got a mana held up here, so maybe it's worth putting the Skullclamp onto Brimaz instead. If an opponent has removal, they'd likely go after our commander rather than the Germ token. So I think we'll do that here. Doesn't look as though the Mardu player has any more 1 mana spot removal, 2 mana spot removal, because they've been passing priority over to Sidisi pretty quickly, although Sidisi is holding up priority quite a bit as well. Anyway, drew into an Urza's Saga there, need to stop drawing into lands if we can. So Marchesa going down to 25 makes a zombie army token from the Dreadhorde invasion. There are 8 counters on the black market now. We see a Thought Vessel and an Arcane Signet, 2 cards in hand. Okay, not surprising, a Kaya's Wrath, just to get rid of our only 1 creature really. The Germ token hardly counts, but anyway, they get more counters on the black market connection. We will certainly draw 2 cards to the Skullclamp doing its job. Could have kept our commander in the bin there for the Phyrexian Delver, but I'd rather use that to get a Worm Coil back later on. Get another living weapon in Nettle Seist, and a Mondrak as well, which will get us 2 tokens with Living Death, but they obviously die straight away because they have 0 toughness. So Queen Marchesa into play will take the monarchy without hitting us. Mortuary Mire puts Field of the Dead just 1 land away from activating. It's noteworthy they have an Aurum Reef of Vastwood as well. Going for the Birds of Paradise, going on top of the library, saving that before the graveyard is exiled. And then we see a No-Made Shepherd. Don't have anywhere near enough creatures to make that relevant, thankfully. But we'll have to be wary of that as the game progresses. Okay, another land for us in Shattered Sanctum. Definitely playing the Urza's Saga this turn. So exile all opponents' graveyards, the Saga will go in the bin. And speaking of Sagas, we play the Urza's Saga now so that we can start making constructs with that. It will tap for a mana first of all. I don't think we're going to be seeing Brimaz get destroyed here, so let's take the turn to play ourselves the Brimaz. And then instead of putting the Skullclamp on there, I'll equip the Bitterthorn because it costs 3, which that's not really mana that I want to spend particularly. So if it can be readily equipped next turn, then we'll be grateful for that so that we can carry on ramping when we swing in. And if it gets blown up, then we'll just regret not having the Skullclamp on there. So pass the turn over to the Queen Marchesa, who hopefully can't do too much to us. Queen Marchesa throws down a Vicious Shadows. So this is typical Mardu control, I think. Going to be destroying lots of creatures. Obviously the exile effects in Swords and Path won't work there. So with 2 cards in hand, just passing straight through to the end of the turn. And goes up to 3 in hand, so might be holding up interaction, like I said. Has 12 mana from the black market during his turn now. Sidisi Brood Tyrant into play. And did manage to get a creature, that is Undead Augur, a very good one. And another decent one, Diagraph Captain. They'll likely be able to combo off with. Still a creature away from being able to blow things up with the No-Made Shepherd, thankfully. And I don't think they should be looking over in our direction with that anyway at the moment, with Black Market and the Vicious Shadows over here. Alright, there is some card draw. Slow card draw in Phyrexian Arena. Decided to put that in here for the sake of being on theme with Brimaz. You know, normally I would play Necropotence because it's a means of filling up your hand. So throw out the Shattered Sanctum. We can make constructs with the Urza Saga now. Do we swing in with Brimaz over here just for the sake of ramping? We could put the Skull Clamp on there, and then if they block with Queen Marchesa, so be it. I think they might just chump block with the zombie army. So yeah, in that case, let's go Skull Clamp onto Brimaz. And we'll go in at the Mardu player, which triggers the Bitter Thorn, of course. Half the reason that we're swinging in here. And we get our last plains, so it's just some basic swamps in the library now. But I think our colours are fixed pretty nicely. Alright, yeah, so trading commanders here will encourage us to go for double blocking. So they're really trying to throw damage around with this thing, which, yeah, that's going to be 6, 12, 18 points of damage. So we're going to have to be careful because we don't have a means of getting rid of that. Maybe we just play Worm Coil here because we'll lose life to the Phyrexian Delver as well. I suppose we can see what cards we draw into with the Skull Clamp, but not before deciding where Brimaz goes. Yeah, so we'll have to put Brimaz back in the command zone, I think. Skull Clamp is on the stack first, so it means that we don't draw the cards before the Vicious Shadows, which is relevant. Alright, they're spreading the damage anyway, thankfully. Alright, and 2 of them going at the Sidisi player. I don't think that's right, but maybe worried about the No-Made Shepherd and the Field of the Dead. So in hindsight, I would have gone for Brimaz being left in the bin there, but obviously didn't know what was going to happen with the Vicious Shadows. I think it's probably a good idea to get down Worm Coil anyway. Draw 2 to the Skull Clamp. Alright, and that's an Organic Extinction. Swiftfoot Boots isn't terrible either. So I don't think we need to get down the Phyrexian Arena here. I do want to hold up 2 mana for the Urza Saga though. So yeah, let's just play the Worm Coil engine without the Skull Clamp equipped, unfortunately. Could also equip the Swiftfoot Boots to try and protect it, but I do really want to get bodies into play. Especially against this control-y player. We need to get rid of Marchesa as soon as we can. That's an interesting piece of tech here. A zombie army comes down. 2 of them come down to the Anointed Procession, but 1 of them dies because it's a 0/0. Only 1 of them gets the plus counter put on it. So yeah, that triggers the Vicious Shadows. I've never seen that before. So dealing some more damage over to the Sultai player. Black Market makes a ton of mana again. 4 cards in hand for Queen Marchesa. Now we see a Nashnod's Altar, which is likely part of a combo, although they can use it to trigger the Vicious Shadows as well, and that's exactly what they do. 13 mana floating, 2 colourless mana floating. Vicious Shadows pointed at us this time. Now we see another sack outlet in Hidden Stockpile, so they'll get another chump blocker into play with that, and it does dodge the Organic Extinction as well. Seeing a bunch of mana being dumped into something here, so I'm hoping that it's not a Torment of Hailfire. I did ask for power level 5 to 6, so I wouldn't hope to see a card like that. Yeah, Exsanguinate, so I mean that's us done, isn't it? So we go down there, and our opponent sticks at 4. All we have to do here is, yeah, they get the token here, sacrifice it, and the Vicious Shadows will be pointed over here and get rid of them. So yeah, that's a decent combination of cards. I haven't seen Vicious Shadows be played too much, but yeah, they see the writing on the wall and just decide to scoop it. But it was an interesting interaction of cards over here anyway, so hopefully you all enjoyed the game. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.